Hey everybody, it's Douglas Drost with eXp Realty, and I'm here to tell you the 20 questions you must ask your real estate agent when touring houses. And the first one is going to be, how long has the house been on the market? Now this is important because if it's been sitting too long, then it's typically for two reasons. One being that it's overpriced, or two, there's something wrong with the house and you need to dig in a little bit deeper. Your second question, what is the asking price and are the sellers open to negotiations? Now, negotiations are always going to be on the table, but knowing whether or not the seller is going to budge at all on the sale price is really the question you want your agent to go find out. Question number 3, has there been any recent price reductions on the house? Now, this could be a good, bad thing. If there was a price reduction on the house recently, great. It's probably because it was overpriced. Now, if the house had a price reduction multiple times or possibly directly after it fell out of contract and went back to the market, this could be due to a problem with the house that the seller was not willing to take care of. Question number 4. Can you send me a list of any comparable properties that recently sold in the area? Now you want to know this because especially if you're financing, the comparables are very important. A lender is typically going to look at these comparable sold properties to determine what the property you're interested in is worth. If an appraisal comes in low on the property that you're wanting to purchase, for example, you're wanting to buy a house at $500,000, but the appraisal comes in low due to the comparable properties in the area, and the bank says the house is only worth $475,000, you have two options. You can either come up with that extra $25,000 in cash to purchase that house with that lender through financing, or the deal is going to fall apart. Question number 5, is there any known issues with the house or any repairs that need to be done? Now, an agent might be able to see some of this, you might be able to call the agent and find out, but you won't really know all the details of the house until you have it professionally inspected. Question number 6, how old is the roof? Very important because nothing is more important than a roof over your head in this situation. You also want to know the age of the appliances or even the HVAC system. Find maintenance records, see whether or not it has been consistently maintained because these can be additional costs out of pocket to you once you once you buy the property. You don't want to buy a property and then have to fix the roof unless you get it for a sweet deal, or change out the water heater or the furnace system, whatever it may be. You're definitely going to want to know these prior to closing. Question number 7, what is the lot size and do you know where the boundaries are at? Of course you want to know if you're buying a property with a house, you're going to want to know what yard is yours, what you have to maintain, or if you want to do any additions on it, is it going to be capable? So knowing the boundary lines is quite important. Question number 8, is there an HOA or are there any restrictions and zoning restrictions on the property? Of course, that's a given. You're going to want to know what you are going to have your hands full with as far as wanting to maintain if you have additional costs such as HOA. HOAs are good and sometimes they're bad. I guess it's kind of a perspective thing. I mean, I enjoy having an HOA just to keep my community and my surroundings a little more curb appealing. Question number 9, now this is typically a better question for your lender if you are financing, and that's going to be, what are the taxes on the property? Now they typically incorporate taxes into your mortgage when you're financing. They call it PITI. It's going to be your principal, your interest, your taxes, and your insurance all bundled up into one fancy mortgage. Question number 10, is there any pending special assessments or updates they're going to make in any surrounding communities that are going to directly impact your property? Let's say that you buy a house and all of a sudden, the road outside is planning to upgrade their sewer system or their roads. There is a likely chance that you will be charged not only in taxes, but what's called a special assessment for that upgrade in your community. Question number 11, what appliances are going to be included with the house? Of course, you want to know whether or not you need to buy a washer or dryer. Typically in houses, it realistically only needs to come with a stove. Sometimes they don't come with a refrigerator, sometimes they don't come with a washer and dryer or a dishwasher, so these are things you're definitely going to want to ask your agent prior to buying the house. Question 12, which is really important to myself, is how are the schools in the area? What is the school district? Can you point me in the direction of the website so I can find out more information for myself? This is important to me because I myself have a child going into kindergarten, and it is very important on a parent's perspective on where they're going to school, what's the history of the school, just kind of give you a sense of security. And question number 12, speaking of security, you're going to want to know what the neighborhood's like. Make sure your agent is capable of finding out what that neighborhood is like, crime rates. I know you can find a lot of that on public record, but that is what you have a real estate agent for, to find out all this information for you. Number 14, and that's going to be utility costs. Now, typically the agent will just reach out to the seller's agent and see if they can't get that answer for you. Typically in Pierce, King County, where I service, it's anywhere between $200 and $300 a month. I've seen it even anywhere up to $400 a month, just kind of depending on the size of the house and the size of the family. Question number 15 is going to be, has the house been under any renovations or updates or upgrades? You want to know this because if they decided to do an addition to the house, you want to make sure that that house was permitted to do so, because if you were going to resell it, or even if you were financing this house, you might run into some obstacles when trying to do so. If they did an addition without permits, it's quite a lengthy process to get it permitted, and a good chance you might have to demolish that addition. Question number 16, what are the zoning restrictions or regulations in this area? Now, sometimes in some counties, in some cities, you might not be able to build a 2-story house. If you bought a piece of land that you wanted to put an ADU in the back, you're gonna have to see whether or not that's gonna be feasible or not. Same time, you want to know them zoning regulations. In case you're hoping to start a business in that area, you're going to want to make sure that it is zoned commercial. If you are wanting to live on the property you're going to own your business out of, some zoning regulations will not allow you to do so. Question number 17, I feel like this is quite an important one also, is that why is the seller selling the house? Can you find out why? It could be the neighborhood, it could be they're trying to downsize, maybe they're upgrading, moving out of state, but it's always good to have a peace of mind to ask this question to your real estate agent. Question number 18, we're going back to HOA. If there is an HOA, what does it do? Does it protect my front yard? Sometimes they cut your front yard and maintain everything. Sometimes it's just regulations, and sometimes they pay for some of your utilities. So it's a good question to ask your real estate agent. Number 19, for future reference, you're gonna wanna know how long are houses typically staying are sitting, are people living in these communities before they decide to put it on the market and move out. If you have a high turnaround, you're going to want to find out why. Why are people always selling their houses in that community? If there's none, great. That means it's going to be a super peaceful neighborhood and nobody wants to go anywhere. And question 20, when speaking with your lender or even just speaking with your agent, they will likely have the answer to this, is what is going to be the best way to finance this property? If you're going to want to go an FHA, you're going to want to go conventional. If you're VA, great. Just know that you have options. Even if you are just going VA, if you have down payment, conventional has the least amount of restrictions, because some properties, although even with FHA, you're approved to buy that house at that price, the property might need some updates or upgrades for you to be capable of doing that, because FHA and VA have regulations saying, hey, this house needs some work, we're not going to finance it. Well, if that's the case, but you still really want to buy this house, switch it over to conventional. So I hope you use and utilize these 20 questions when touring houses with your real estate agent. If you don't have a real estate agent, of course, reach out to me, and you won't even have to ask them, because I will just directly answer the questions for you. Hope you have a fantastic day, and feel free to reach out to me. Follow and subscribe below.